So misogynistic red pillers love to use both these statistics to justify their narrative, but women are just as violent, if not more violent, than men.
Now, I don't know if the guy he's responding to is a misogynistic red pillar or not. It makes no difference because the stat that they've quoted is actually correct. The fact that he's just made the point to highlight that the guy might be a misogynistic red pillar shows that he's got a problem with the stat.
Now, both of these statistics are a perfect example of cherry-picking with a laser-like focus, stripping away all context, and then using those statistics to make a claim they do not support.
The irony from the person who's just said this, when within a split second they do exactly this, it's just madness.
And it is a response to somebody else making the very correct claim that men commit more crime.
True.
And that women are disproportionately victimized by men. And do your research is the challenge. Okay then, yeah, let's. Now, our best data on this comes from the National Crime Victimization Survey, which, unlike police reports or arrest records, comes from people being anonymously surveyed about their experience with criminal victimization, and should therefore be less prone to underreporting bias. And while lesbian women do indeed report higher lifetime prevalence of IPV than hetero women, 44% to 35%, the highest levels are actually reported by bi women at 61%. But that doesn't fit their narrative, so they just, quietly ignore that bit.
Like the bit that you've just ignored. Right behind your head! Cherry picking! Ignoring it, while complaining about other people ignoring it. You're as bad as the red pillars that you're complaining about. Now, if I wanted to be an a-hole and misrepresent data like he's doing, I could turn around and point out that gay men actually experience the least amount of IPV than absolutely anyone, and then when you involve women, it peaks for both men and women. But I'm not going to do that.
The other problem with this is it incorrectly and ignorantly assumes that these women have only ever had female intimate partners. And yet a survey of lesbian women found that almost 80% of them had at least one male intimate partner in their lifetime.
Yeah, of course that's going to be the case for most gay men and women, but this is something he does quite a lot. He uses two different sources of data to collide them together to make one conclusion. At least he's got it kind of relatively right this time, makes a change.
And this assumption is also challenged in the survey data, had they bothered to look. Almost a third report experiencing IPV committed by male perpetrators.
But if he bothered to look above his own head, he'd see this, which, just kind of pinpoints his cherry picking.
And if we factor that third into that 44%, then unsurprisingly, the rates of IPV are more in line with those for heterosexual women.
And that's misrepresenting data. Well done.
Showing that the issue is not with violent women, but that even women who choose not to have relationships with men cannot escape the violence of men, leaving lifelong scars. And on top of this, 90% of bi women, 99% of hetero women, a fifth of all bi men, and 91% of gay men all report male-only perpetrators of IPV.
But I'm just going to point out again that he's ignored this bit. This bit.
It is staggeringly obvious that violent lesbian women are not the problem.
I'll tell you what the problem is and how do I explain this, right? You've taken two sets of data. You've taken people's experience of IPV. And what you've done is you've decided to focus on their sources of IPV, but then you've ignored other people's sources of IPV to display something that you wanted to display. You're talking about people making a narrative while you are doing one yourself. Lesbians experience higher rates of IPV than any other couple. It's that straightforward. It's a sad fact. It's one that we need to accept. And it might be an idea to read everything that you're using as data when it's well over 10 years old. Just saying.